Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, November 26th. If you are just tuning in, we just finished going over the NFL Power Rankings 32-1. Pretty good power rankings, if I do say so myself. In this segment, we turn our attention to Week 12. Winners and losers from the last week of NFL football. It was another crazy week. Lots of upsets, lots of awful things happening, lots of great things happening, records being broken as well. We'll talk about all of that and more in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, November 26th. But like I was saying, in this segment, we're going to get into the winners and losers. We're going to start off with the winners. As all good things, we're going to start off with the good news. Top 5 winners of the week. And we're going to start a little bit simple here. At number 5, it's Bryce Young. How about Bryce Young? How about his performance? What he was able to do against, in my opinion, one of the best defenses in all of the National Football League, keeping the Panthers close. He just had his best game of his career. And for all the people, me included, that thought his career was over once he was benched for Andy Dalton, he comes in, gets his second opportunity of the season, and he has done nothing short but absolutely revive his career. He has been awesome. He has shown that under Dave Canales, in the new regime, as he continues to get more and more comfortable with that offense, that Bryce Young deserves another shot, deserves at least one more year, and it's not time to move off. It's an important lesson, right? We're kind of seeing the same thing with Will Levis to a lesser extent. I'm not willing to make any big judgments, and I'm not saying that Bryce Young really is 100% back, but it's a lesson that we are really quick to react, right? We called Bryce Young a bust. And sure, maybe in terms of first overall picks, he could still be considered a bust. And I wouldn't really even be mad at you for still considering him a bust. But still, this guy has not even played 2 seasons in the NFL. He is still figuring it out. He has had multiple now quarterback multiple coordinators in his season, and it is absolutely messing with him. Right? He's starting to figure it out, get in the system, get it more comfortable, and you see him improve. It's really important not to overreact. And that's hard. It's a hard lesson to take because everything is snappy now. You got to talk about it now, otherwise it's going to be lost forever. And I'm guilty of that as much as anybody else. Recency bias is a thing. But what Bryce Young has shown me this week, and really in the last couple of weeks, his last 3 games total since coming back as the starter, it has showed me that he is a guy, he is a quarterback that I think deserves another shot, and that is huge for his career. Bryce Young is the number 5 winner of the week. Staying along those same lines, how about our number 4 winner of the week, Tua Tagovailoa? Tua goes out there, his first 4 touchdown performance since getting another concussion. And I, along with a lot of other people, were very concerned for Tua's health. Since coming back, he has thrown 1 interception to 11 touchdowns, right? He has played incredible football every single week, and that Miami Dolphins team, you can immediately see the improvement with and without him, right? Even in this game, they bench Tua for a little bit to get Skylar Thompson in there. He immediately throws an interception. This team is night and day better with Tua than without him. And it's huge to see him out there playing great football, playing back up to where the Dolphins are starting to get back to the expectations they are. Again, we just went over the power rankings. I had them at 11 in the beginning of the season. They had risen all the way up to 6, right? So they're getting back to where at least I expected them to be at the beginning of the season, and that's because of Tua, what he's been able to do. As long as he stays healthy, the Dolphins are going to be a good team and a tough one to take out. Tua is the number 4 winner of the week. At number 3, Keep it nice and simple. How about snow games, guys? We got another snow game. It's been a very, very long time on Thursday Night Football, getting all the way back there. Seems like a week ago, seems like a long time ago, but it was part of this week. A fun game. Jameis Winston goes out there and balls, gives the Cleveland Browns some new life. Shout out to the Cleveland fans over there for sticking it out. Tough environment to play in. They do what they need to do, win a game against a division opponent, a division rival. Everything in the AFC North, all of those division games seem to mean more to those teams than a lot of other division rivalries. So it's fun to see. It's a fun game to watch. Snow games are great. They're our number 3 winner. At number 2, shout out to the Cowboys special teams. They are just the 4th team in the history of the NFL. In the history of the NFL to have 2 different players return a kick for a touchdown. Not only that, they did it in the 4th quarter, both of them in the 4th quarter. How about that finish to that game? Turpin goes out there after the Commanders go up and tie the game, scores a kick return touchdown after muffing the punt. A little spin move there immediately down the field. That was a huge moment for them. Got the Cowboys back in front. But then the Commanders answer, of course. Terry McLaurin, an 80-yard touchdown, a crazy touchdown, cuts in, jukes defenders, goes all the way down the field. And then an onside kick try that could have ended the game after an Austin Siebert missed extra point. Instead, they take it to the house, which probably was a mistake, but that gets them on the list here. Lots of other teams have struggled with special teams, and Cowboys aren't the exception here. They've had their struggles with special teams, and especially this week, special teams were a real mess. We had more blocked field goals, more missed extra points. All of that happened this week, but the Cowboys special teams stepped up huge. They played a huge role in that game, 12 points out of their 34, and the Cowboys definitely don't win this game if not for those special teams. So shout out to the special teams of the Cowboys. They were huge, and it's the number 2 winner of the week. And the number 1 winner of the week, the winningest winner of really the whole season so far, or really any week, it's Saquon Barkley. How can you not? Saquon Barkley, 255 yards rushing. Saquon Barkley, 302 total yards from scrimmage. That is insane. 2 70-plus yard touchdown runs. He is on an insane pace right now. I mentioned it in the power rankings, but Saquon Barkley on pace for the most scrimmage yards in the history of the NFL. On pace for the most rushing yards in the history of the NFL. Saquon Barkley now in the MVP conversations. And Saquon Barkley, really running backs as a whole, I would say, are getting into the winner's circle here. But Saquon Barkley headlining it all. He's already set a career high for rushing yards, career high for rushing touchdowns in a season. He is insane, and we get to see what he can do behind a good offensive line finally. It's fun to watch. This is the player we were promised that went 2nd overall in the NFL draft. Saquon Barkley is a special, special talent, and he deserves to be let free. He's the biggest winner of the week. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we get over to the losers' side of things. Just as high as the highs were, there were plenty of lows. So we'll talk about all of that and more coming up in just a second here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Tuesday, November 26th. If you are just tuning in, we just finished going over the winners of the last week in the NFL. We get to the other side of the coin, the bad side, the lowest of the lows, the 5 biggest losers of the week this week, coming up in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those 2 things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Tuesday, November 26th. But like I was saying, we are going to finish up our show here today, getting in with the losers from last week in the NFL, starting off, as we always do, at number 5. And we're going to put a spotlight on a receiver here that has had his struggles. A second-year receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers, Quentin Johnston, our fifth loser of the week. And this is a guy that at the beginning of this season was considered a joke, right? He had a really bad rookie season after being drafted in the first round out of TCU. He came in this season, caught a couple of touchdowns, had a couple of big weeks, and now that he's being relied upon a little bit more as a guy that you can rely on, and the Chargers needed him to step up big in this game against the Ravens, he is now in his last 11 targets, 0 for, no catches. 3 drops in this game against the Baltimore Ravens, and a couple of those drops would have been huge plays, potential touchdowns, running away from defenders on drag routes, a nice, easy connection that, in all honesty, if I had that space, I probably could have made that catch. Now, I'm not out there. I wouldn't have been able to get that space, but it's a catch that you have to make if you're an NFL wide receiver. And this is something that has really plagued Quentin Johnston for a while. It sucks that a young player is not catching these balls, but at wide receiver, you have to make those catches. He has the skill. We've seen it a couple times this year that he is a guy that you can believe in. This is a guy that you can put out there and a guy that can make some of those plays, but on the last 11 targets, no catches. And it's very disappointing for the Chargers because he was starting to put together a pretty nice sophomore season. He's our number 5 loser of the week. And number 4, it's the San Francisco 49ers as a team. Absolutely blown out against a Green Bay Packers team that you have a pseudo rivalry against. They're a team that you've met a lot in the playoffs. The Packers have been utterly dominated in those matchups in the playoffs, but you come in injured. And I know that's not a forgive all excuse, right? That's not something that you can just throw out there and say, oh, we were injured, it's fine, leave us alone, right? But it's also something that you have to be a little bit concerned about. It's something that when you take a look at it, it is part of your story, right? And that's why they're the number 4 loser. They played awfully, right? And I can't blame their offense completely, but the addition of Christian McCaffrey, I thought was going to make a huge difference. I thought they were going to be able to rely on the ground game. The Packers have been a team that you've been able to run the football against. They were just unable to get it done. Stacked boxes. They couldn't throw the football, make any kind of threat with Brandon Allen back there. They need a new backup quarterback. Honestly, I think Daniel Jones might be a guy that they should go out and get if Brock Purdy is going to miss any more time. Even if he isn't. If he ever goes down, I don't think you want Brandon Allen in a playoff game, and you probably don't want Daniel Jones either. But he is a guy that has moments. He's a guy that already you've seen this season can come out there, win a game against a good Seattle Seahawks team. He has a game or two in him, and you just have to hope it's at the right time. But for now, the 49ers are big losers. They looked absolutely awful against those Packers this week. At number 3, our number 3 biggest loser, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. They have now gambled and lost on 2 straight quarterbacks, right? They are just not getting it done, right? Jimmy Garoppolo last season, not working. Aiden O'Connell gets hurt. Now, Gardner Minshew goes down. You have Desmond Ridder as a new quarterback option. Maybe you get Aiden O'Connell back, but still, those aren't super inspiring options. You need to draft a quarterback this year. They continue to lose football games. They continue to lose players. It's just everything is not going well in the Sin City right now, and the Raiders are our 3rd biggest loser of the week. At number 2, it's CJ Stroud, and this is less about this week. Now, it is about this week. He pulled, I'm going to call it a half Dan Orlovsky here, running out of the back of his own end zone. It's a little different. He was under pressure trying to make a play in the final couple drives of this game, but he has just not looked like himself this season. What CJ Stroud did last season was incredible. Arguably the best rookie season of all time from a quarterback, and sophomore slumps are a thing. Teams start to figure you out. You slow it down a little bit, but they have just about the same team. The offensive line is terrible, but the offensive line wasn't much good last year. The running game, and without Stephon Diggs, the weapons haven't changed. You're seeing how much of a difference it's actually making. Stephon Diggs, if he is healthy enough, should get a big contract in the offseason with someone. I never really understood why they decided to slash the last 3 years off of his contract there. Just something that I guess they had to do, but CJ Stroud has taken a big step back this year. A huge drop in just about every metric. Interceptions way up from last season. He needs to figure it out. I'm still not hitting the panic button on them yet. They're still in control in that division. The Colts continue to fumble around with the ball with themselves. And until the Colts get everything together, they're not really in danger of missing the playoffs. But this is a team that just is not going to come into the playoffs with a lot of momentum like they did last season. And I'm not too convinced with the way that this team is going. For now, CJ Stroud, the number 2 loser. And that leaves us with number 1. The biggest loser of the week. It's the New York Giants. They're the team that's been piled on mercilessly. They're the team that let Saquon Barkley walk 302 yards this week. They're the team that let Xavier McKinney walk an interception to add to, I believe, his league-leading tally. I think that Xavier McKinney was the bigger loss, right? But it's not just them, not just the 2 big guys that they lost this offseason. Leonard Williams, 2.5 sacks this week. They trade him to Seattle at the trade deadline of last season. Julian Love, another safety. They let him walk. He's having a great day over in Seattle, right? There are plenty of former Giants all around the league killing it, and this is a Giants team that cannot get anything together, right? And it's not all on them. They don't have a quarterback. Tommy DeVito, while he's a fun story, while he's a guy that's fun to watch play, and he's got all the vibes that you want out of a backup quarterback, just a fun guy kind of quarterback, right? He's not going to come in and win you games, right? And that's not what they expect him to do. They don't expect him to do that. They don't expect him to, turn this season around. But this is a Giants team that needed something. And right now they've got nothing. It seems like every decision that they've made in the past 10 years has been the wrong one, regardless of what it was. They have barely made any great decisions, and it's just continuing to compound. It just happened that everything that they let walk had a good week this week, and they had an atrocious one. They're the biggest losers of the week. But let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this week's losers, winners. Let me know. And thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. We will be back tomorrow. We're off Thanksgiving, and I will be back on Friday, but we're off Thanksgiving. We'll be back tomorrow talking all the biggest news from this week in sports that we missed when we were covering the weekend, NBA Power Rankings as well. Make sure you come back for that. I'll see you then. You've been listening to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.